What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Scardust on the phone. Thank you so much for your time today, guys. It's great to have you here.
Hi, how are you?
To be.
It's so awesome to have you here. We have this new album, Strangers, scheduled to come out at the very end of the month. It sounds absolutely beautiful. I really want to know what the thought process was making Strangers. Was there kind of like a preconceived idea? How did Strangers sort of come to be?
Thank you, first of all. Yes, we definitely thought about the concept a lot, even before we started writing actual music and lyrics. I've been wanting to write something about this topic for years, and because I think it speaks through so many levels. You can be estranged from someone you love. You can be estranged from the world. You can be estranged from yourself even. You can think you know somebody, but then you don't know them. So there are so many faces to this. And this is when we decided to come up with this concept of parallel songs. So each song is corresponding to another song in the album, and both songs are like strangers to each other, but also they can go together.
Mm-hmm. Did the concept, obviously the concept will determine the lyrics, but do you feel that maybe the concept could also help determine the direction of the music itself as well?
Definitely, the music and the lyrics are one to us.
Mm-hmm. And is the music open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe engage the listener into the story of what this album could be about?
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, the music is very, very, very open for interpretation, because it's so personal when you get the interpretation. So as the music hits the listener, it becomes something personal. It becomes a different entity from what it was. So what you hear is what you hear, and what string it pulls, it's only yours. So yeah, I think it's personal.
Yeah, and from what you were telling me about the message and the concept behind it, it does seem like that everybody goes through this experience as well. So I think even if, it wasn't open to interpretation, I still feel like that this album is still very relatable to a lot of people.
Yes, indeed.
Do you feel that the first two singles that you released off of this album, one of them being Addicted and the other one being Tantabus 2, do you feel like that these are a clear representation of what the whole album will sound like, or is the music a little bit more experimental and have a lot more different elements into it?
Well, I think you can say that Tantabus 2 is what you would expect from Scardust, and it's like a more classic Scardust kind of music, and Addicted was more experimental. A lot of people were very surprised by it because it's taking a more modern sound. It's more poppy.
Musical, even.
Yeah, definitely. And I think each song in the album has its own character, different character. So there are definitely some more surprises on the album.
Does this have any relationship to your previous album, Sands of Time, or do you feel that this is almost kind of like a new start or a standout in the Scardust catalog?
Well, as the Yadin likes to say, it definitely has the Scardust DNA in it, but the concept is completely different. I think Sands of Time is more like an archetype kind of concept, and Strangers is more personal.
Okay. And you mentioned that you thought of this concept before you started writing the music. So do you is that something that's new in your songwriting process, or have you always had to, think of a concept or a story or a subject matter before you even go into songwriting?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to, a concept can evolve and, get more detailed and more depth to it during the writing process, but we definitely like to have a solid concept before we start.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the only way to make a proper, progressive concept album.
Is there like a lot of research that goes involved, or do the ideas sort of like come out of nowhere?
I don't know if I mean I don't know how to call it, if I should call it a lot, but there is definitely some research if we feel like it, if we think it's necessary. I don't think it's a lot though.
Okay.
It's definitely more like with this album. With this album, it's definitely more like a self, because it's an album that speaks about feelings mostly. So it's like a self-research in a way.
Your life experiences and etc.
Yeah.
And being that it is very much rooted in a personal element, I mean, like, is there certain songs or certain subject matters certain songs that represent like a moment in time for you guys in a way?
I have a funny story.
I like funny stories.
Yeah, Break the Ice. It's a song about, waiting for a savior, right? So I actually had this idea when I accidentally locked myself outside of my apartment. And I was waiting for how do you call it? The guy who, what's the word in English?
The lockpicker, I think.
The locksmith?
Locksmith, yeah. And, because I had my phone inside the apartment and my wallet inside the apartment. I literally had nothing with me. Except like going to the nearest cafe and call this guy. I couldn't really do anything. So, what would one do when they wait outside in the cold? Write a song, obviously.
Yeah, you clearly embrace the opportunity. Maybe you should do that more often.
Lock myself outside my apartment. I remember actually writing the lyrics on the sand.
Did you take pictures of that?
Oh, no, I didn't really. I mean, my phone was inside the apartment, so.
Yeah, you should have had somebody take a picture of it and send it to you. That's really...
I took it inside my head. I took the picture inside my head.
Yeah, that would have been the number one... if I ever go to Israel, that would be the first landmark I would have wanted to see.
But no, seriously, yes, I mean, every song in the album speaks about something personal that we've been, that one of us been through. I can go on and go through each and every one of the songs and explain to you how, what made me or write this song, but it's gonna be long.
Yeah. Hey, I'm in no rush to go back to work now. I'm kidding. But do you feel like maybe for a listener to better understand the album and understand the story, they should listen to this album chronologically? Like they should start off with Overture for the Estranged and end with Mist? Or do you think that maybe a listener, since it's open to interpretation, they can maybe approach this album from any different angle?
So they can definitely listen to the album chronologically, but they can also pair the two parallel songs together to create like a different kind of order to the songs. Do you want to explain about this?
Yeah. Okay. So there's 11 tracks on the album, and the first one is of course the Overture. Gives you a very nice introduction of the motifs and the overall sound of the album. And every song in the album has its brother or its parallel, like Noah said. So you can listen to the album in one chunk, like a very big idea, and you can take bits of the album and make it
glue them together.
Yeah, glue them together and listen to song pairs, and that can make the point of each song pair much more how is it?
Like stronger.
Yeah, stronger. Yeah. Better even.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you see like like one aspect of being estranged. For example, I'll give you a real example. Tantibus 2 and Addicted are both are parallel songs. So Tantibus 2 is about wanting to escape from the outside world, and then Addicted is about getting addicted to that feeling. And when you play them like in the two opposite sides of the album, they make sense each on their own, but then when you play them together, they make sense as one long piece.
Mm-hmm. Is that why you released those two as the first singles? Because since they relate to each other so much and they're so connected?
Yes, that's exactly the reason.
Mm-hmm. And I've always thought that Scardust's music has like a very experimental side to it, because there's like really many different styles and many different elements. So really in songwriting, you guys like to experiment with your sound as much as possible, right?
Yes, of course. Even the intensity of the music is puts us to the test. Like this album, I'm speaking behalf of myself only. Took me like to the edge and beyond. If it's technically and if it's by really getting the feelings right and the expression right when you play a certain idea, because it's not just the notes you play, it's like how you play them and how you want the listener to feel and to react, mainly.
Yeah, you want to try to convey a certain emotion, and I think both lyrically and musically you both do that. I've always seen like a lot of bands where like, maybe the lyrics are very relatable, but like the music itself doesn't really give it that extra spark. I feel like you guys make every moment and every sound count.
Yeah,
thank you.
And like, are you like thinking about like how the songs will? Do you think about the end result as you are writing the music, or is there like a lot of improvising involved and like a lot of trial and error?
Yeah.
Yeah, the songs are perfect entities. So, in order to write those kind of songs, and I'm speaking on behalf of Noah and Or, and Noah will tell her side of story more specifically, but it's like it's like a being, and it's supposed to be complete, and that being has its lyrics, it has its notes, and has its music, and everything in it is irreplaceable, I think.
Yeah, when we write it like as if it was. I mean, we treat the music as classical music. So we orchestrate all the instruments, all the parts together in a perfect way. And if you change one note, it means that you need to rethink again the other parts as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
exactly like you would do in an orchestra, for example.
So you both have classical training, actually. Like you have like the musical theory that you apply into the sound.
Yeah, we were all classically trained musicians.
So studying classical music, I remember I was interviewing Taria, and like she said that sometimes like with her classical music background, she kind of had to like abandon some of what she learned when it came to like singing in Nightwish and like doing her more metal oriented stuff. So do you try to like maybe do you have to maybe like to bring the heavier edge into Scardust? Do you almost kind of have to like maybe abandon a little bit of the theory that you've learned in a way? Do you feel like sometimes it could be too dictating?
Yeah, I mean, theory is theory. I mean, the theory doesn't go away, and it's there, and it's you can use it, and you can also not use it if you choose to. I mean, as long as you know it. And in terms of techniques, I mean, classical techniques are, I think, like the basis of everything else that comes, on top of it. So yeah, if you choose to not use this technique or this theory, it's something that you do knowingly.
Yeah, it's better to know
you know
it.
What I mean?
Yeah, it's better to know it
Yeah.
and just then to not, because at least then you at least know why you're doing it,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
In
there's
other words, you need to know your classical music in order to not use it.
Yeah.
In other words,
Exactly.
of course. And I have two more questions for you. Here comes the most difficult question of the whole interview, and I want you both to answer this. How do you know? How do you know when a song is done?
when you can't breathe anymore and and you're really on the edge of death. Just kidding.
That was the most metal answer I've ever gotten.
Do you mean with writing
Yeah.
or with producing and recording? With writing.
Yeah.
I mean, Or and I, we have Or is my co-writer in the band, and he has this like methodical process. Yeah, we at first we write the song just with piano and vocals, and then Or takes it and writes like the orchestration of all the instruments. And then sometimes it evolves and changes along the way, but yeah, I think after this orchestration part, we sit together, we listen to it, and then we have this moment of just saying, okay, this is the song. Then there is the next stage, is to actually play the song, and this is where it gets its final shape.
Yeah, but I'd imagine when you're playing the material live, it is like a completely separate energy than simply just writing the music, right? Is it almost kind of like another art altogether that you have to master?
Definitely, yeah.
Yes, it is. When you perform this kind of music, a part of the training and the practice you must put in it. You in order to convey those emotions and these ideas, you must be free. Yeah, you have to play freely. You have to sing freely in order to reach to the hearts and the thoughts and the emotions of your crowd. So it is a different art, and that's the most challenging aspect of it, if you ask me, as a guitar player.
Yeah, I'd imagine that you almost have to like practice crowd interaction or stage presence in a way. Like I feel like rehearsing for a show is like a choreography almost.
Exactly. Yeah, try to headbang to 7/8 and the drum play 5 in the bass drum. So that's the process.
But is there anything similar about maybe songwriting and playing live at all? Is there anything that maybe ties the two together?
I mean, obviously the music ties it together.
Yeah.
Interesting question.
I think we're eager to see the reactions and to see how on par are our expectations and the reality. And we can say that as of now, it went fine. Like the ideas and the emotions piercing through our amazing crowd.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see the reaction to ours. I mean, the reaction of our crowd to our new songs. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
We'll see when times allow.
Yeah, when COVID will stop to exist.
Yeah, and as soon as it does, you will come to the United States, I hope, right?
We hope so.
Yeah, that's a dream. Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. So I want to thank you guys so much again for your time today. Really enjoyed this discussion. And is there just anything else with the band that you would like to promote? I mean, is there maybe any live stream performance we could be expecting or anything else you would like to promote for the release of Strangers?
Yes, so thank you. It was a pleasure to speak to you. And definitely we have a live stream with some songs that we will play live and an open Q&A with a special guest, Patty Gertie, on November 1st at 8 p.m. GMT plus 2. And it will be live on Facebook, and it will be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, everybody. We are here with Scardust. Be sure to pick up Strangers coming out October 30th. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.